we can all grab our verse sheets. This is the title of the message, and it's just verses through the Old and the New Testament. Let's just read the title together, which is, It Is Not Good. That's how it starts. It is not good for man to be alone. And then we can also begin reading Genesis 1:26. And God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of heaven, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So in this first verse, we see that God said. That's the first thing we see. That our God is a speaking God. And when he speaks things into being. And he speaks what is on his heart. And here he says, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and that he would have dominion and would express and represent him. When God created all the animals, the Bible shows us, he created them according to their own kind. But when he got to man, he created him according to his image and his likeness. And I'm not going to say too much about this right here, but we'll get into this more and more. This is an initial seed showing God's intention. Throughout the rest of this message, we'll come back to this point. So let's begin the story of Adam and Eve by reading. Let's just read half of this next portion. Genesis 2:18 through 2:20. So we'll stop at, we'll read 2:20 and stop there, okay? And Jehovah God said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make him a helper as his counterpart. And Jehovah God formed from the ground every animal of the field and every bird of heaven, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called any living animal, that was its name. And the man gave names to all the cattle, and to the birds of heaven, and to every animal of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helper as his counterpart. So again, God said. God speaks again. And what did he speak? It is not good for man to be alone. God created man in his image, according to his likeness, but he saw that this man was not complete. It was not good for him to be alone. This man needs someone else. He needs someone to love, someone who would love him, someone who would help him. He needs a counterpart. So God says, I will make him a helper as his counterpart. But the next portion is really interesting because God starts bringing all these animals to Adam. You can imagine Adam, a big gray animal walks up. He's like, whoa, this doesn't look like me, right? This can't be my counterpart. Its skin is like leather. Its ears are flapping. It has a huge trunk. This will be called an elephant. And then the next animal is brought. This doesn't look like me. It doesn't have my nature. It has feathers, and it has wings and a beak. This is a bird. All the animals were brought to Adam, but none of them matched him. None of them looked like him. None of them could be his counterpart. So the last verse here says, but for Adam there was not found a helper as his counterpart. So what does God do? Let's read Genesis 2:21 through 2:24. We'll just finish this little section here of verses. And Jehovah God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. And Jehovah God built a rib, which he had taken from the man, into a woman, and brought her to the man. And the man said, this time this is bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called woman, because out of man this one was taken. Therefore a man shall sleep. A deep sleep falls upon Adam. And out of his side, Eve is produced. We have to consider this. Eve was made in a very particular way. Adam, you could say, was made from scratch. Or all the animals he formed out of the ground. Why didn't he just make an Eve? Poof, there's an Eve. Why didn't he make Eve this way? He didn't do that. He actually made Eve out of Adam. Adam was the material that he built Eve with. This is very different than everything else. The person of Eve was made out of the person of Adam.
Oh.
And when Adam saw this, he saw something different than all the other animals. All the other animals were presented to him. He didn't see anything that looked like him. That was his kind. But now, when Eve is presented, I mean, imagine how excited. This is time. This is bone of my bones. This is flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called woman, because out of man this one was taken. This one was a match. In a sense, it was a duplication of Adam. She was the same as he was. In life and nature, she looked like him in the sense that she didn't look like an elephant or the other animals, right? She looked like a human. She was his match. He found the one that could match him. It was not good for man to be alone. But now man has a match.